So I think it's an increasingly accepted fact that businesses have a role to play, particularly in inclusive economic growth. And I think that the country that we're in here, Cam, in Canada, is particularly progressive. But I also think at the same time that we have a long way to go. And so we decided to take a stand and to be very purposeful about our claim that boldly growing the good in business and in life, by the way, in business and in life. I think we have an opportunity to do a better job, frankly, as a business community, articulating what that good is and the benefit that we do bring to societies and to communities where we live and work that goes beyond the customer imperative or the shareholder imperative, but the support that we have for communities broadly or inclusive economic opportunity specifically, and the benefit that that has to local societies, to our country, and frankly to the platform that we therefore have to operate our businesses on. Because if we don't have an inclusive, broad-based economic growth platform, we're not going to have good business. And so to me, these things really fit very well together. And the job we have to do, I think, as a business community is to get louder and to ensure that the voice that says business is a virtue and business does exist for social good is not drowned out by the voice that says that it's not. My encouragement to people is to think about how to grow their businesses as broadly as they possibly can. And they'll figure out through that journey where the real economic opportunities are relative to the ones that don't make a lot of sense, and they'll have to figure out where their trade-offs are. But my worry is that initially the sandbox gets drawn too narrowly. I said earlier that the sandbox that we have in Canada can be seen as the most productive opportunity perhaps in the world, because we're the only country among the G7 that naturally can trade with all other G7 nations, can trade with the North American economy, subject of course to the ratification of USMCA, and all 28 members of the European Union, and all 10 members of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and there's no other country in the world that can say that. So the students here at Ivey, and anybody else who's thinking about a career, whether it's big business or small business, has a unique opportunity. It's a unique global opportunity to think about a trade marketplace that is a competitive advantage relative to any other place in the world. My encouragement in the meantime is to be really careful to not be too myopic in terms of thinking of where the opportunity is, because it's so much, as I look back, it's so much broader than I ever imagined it was at the time. And if somebody had said to me then, open your aperture and think about all these opportunities, I probably would have been able to take advantage of more opportunities earlier. So that's my advice to people who are thinking about their business plans today. Focus, discipline, hard work. All of the Ivey students are in the middle of that right now. But my advice would be to make sure that that balance and that integrity is also part of the equation, because I think about the leadership of the future, and frankly, I think about the workforce that I manage and the workforce of the future. There aren't a lot of examples of success where focus and discipline and hard work is everything that you needed to get the job done. The students at Ivey who make their way through their journey and think about this as a basket of skills, as opposed to a choice of skills, I think have the highest probability of success, because we're going to move into a world where we won't be able to identify these as choices. We are moving into a world where, in the same way I would say, is it a technical aptitude or is it a purpose aptitude? Is it technical aptitude or business skills? Those are not two different things going forward. Those are the same things. And so when I encourage the students earlier today to breathe, I think it's a great opportunity for self-reflection. And I think that's probably missing in a lot of the work that we put ourselves through and that we have people going through. And if we can figure out how to get the self-reflection to create that balance and to create that integrity into the equation, then you have the full package. I got to tell you, I was inspired. I was inspired by the energy, I was inspired by the enthusiasm, and the quality of the questions that the Ivey students asked me today was remarkable, because I spoke in my prepared remarks about short-term advice and long-term advice, but the questions I had were all in the long-term category. So I was inspired by the fact that the students were thinking about what really matters at year 5, at year 10, at year 20 of my career, and how does it change as I go through my career, and what should I be thinking about as I go through that basket of skills that I talked about earlier, and how do I manage this journey even though I talked to them a little bit about how do you manage the next year, how do I really manage the journey that is business and life? I was just very impressed and inspired by the quality of questions and the leaning towards the long-term value proposition. They'll be fine as they get through the next 12 months. They probably know that deep down in their hearts, but they're going to be even better as they think about those questions over the next 10 or 20 years. Some of the closest relationships that I have in my personal life and family life today were formed right here at Ivey. So I'd encourage the students to pay attention to that, because they probably don't realize that they're putting the foundations in place for value to them that will last potentially a lifetime. On the content itself, I probably didn't appreciate enough at the time that what we were doing and what we were learning and the growing that we were doing, whether it was around technical issues like learning how to do a discounted cash flow model, which at the time I thought, boy, does anybody really do this in real life? You bet. You bet I did. And as soon as I got into school, we did. The value of the case study method, the value of learning from each other, and the challenge and the complexity of bringing 7 opinions into one answer, the value of working through a 48-hour report. That is real life. At the time, perhaps we thought this was cruel punishment. It isn't. It is real life. That's the way problems sometimes have to get solved under stress and under time pressure. So as I look back today, the training that was occurring here was very, very well matched to the skill set that's required in the workforce. And students will know that only for sure when they get there. But in the meantime, they can take comfort in the fact that this is a very, very good use of time. And the value proposition that Ivey's offering to them is just tremendous. It'll last a lifetime.